Greetings, YouTube. The video I did recently about the ring bear, about the ring that was kind of a curse and kind of not a curse because it allowed you to become a bear while maintaining a higher level of intelligence. Um, Got me thinking about the polymorph spell. Now, I've always loved the polymorph spell, and two of the characteristics, two of the class features of the Druid, both in 3.5 and Pathfinder, that I loved so much was the Thousand Faces ability. The ability to make yourself be any humanoid is so damn cool. And then, of course, Wild Shape. And at the top tier, you can do Wild Shape anytime you want to, for as long as you want to. Any animal plus elemental forms. Want to go swimming? Water elemental. Go any depth you want to. Water doesn't crush. Need to fly? Air elemental. Need to be wicked tough? Earth elemental. Just want to burn a lot of crap? Fire elemental. Just so damn cool. But the polymorph spell really leaves me kind of cold. At 1 minute per level, it's really geared, in my opinion, for combat. So when you get it, it's a 5th level. Let's take a look at the spell itself. I'm looking at the Pathfinder version right now, Pathfinder 1st Edition. Okay, casting time, 1 standard action. Obviously, it's in the Transmutation Polymorph School, and it's a 5th level Alchemist, 5th level Sorcerer / Wizard. Components are verbal, symbolic, and material, a piece of the creature whose form you choose. Now, that is something I think a lot of people seem to forget, that if you want to turn into a wyvern, you got to have a piece of a wyvern. Now, I would also allow someone to consume that item and then be able to assume that form in the future. Particularly, say, if they had the eschew material components feat, so you only have to do it once, and you've built it into your magical DNA, if you will, so you can assume that form at a later date. Of course, if you were to have to abandon that body behind for some reason, say you died and were reborn as somebody else, you wouldn't have that link to it any longer, and you have to do the whole thing over again. Of course, at that level, that's probably a pretty minor inconvenience. Then we have range touch, living creature touch, so it's usable for yourself or another person. Duration 1 minute per level. Will negates, harmless. Spell resistance, yes, harmless. Lets you do animal, humanoid, or elemental of your choosing. And it functions as beast state shape 2. If you take elemental, it functions as elemental body 1. And it functions as alter self if you choose a humanoid. Now, if you go to the greater version, it is level 7. This spell functions as a polymorph, except it allows the creature to take on the form of a dragon or a plant creature. You can do animals or magical beasts, and then now you go to beast shape 4. Elemental body 3, humanoid functions as alter self, plant is plant shape 2, dragon is dragon, form of the dragon 1. So you get some nice guidelines of what you can and you cannot become. But 1 minute per level just seems limited to me. Yeah, it's great for combat. Let's face it, even at the most base level you can cap this at, and when you hit 5th level, 5 minutes is going to be the length of any standard combat. You're done. No combat really lasts longer. That's 50 friggin' rounds. You know what I mean? So you're all set for that combat. The problem is if you want to use it for utility, utilities can often go beyond that. They could have duration if you're doing something that requires effort or some kind of subterfuge or something, but non-combat. And that duration, to my mind, is kind of a poop. Now, one house rule that oh, great cat, thanks. My cat spewing spittle on my face, which I always wanted. Come on, get on my way, up or down, make a choice. One house rule that I have used is simply by extending that to instead of 1 minute per level, we do the 1 turn or 10 rounds per level. So suddenly the spell becomes much more useful as a utility or as an entertainment spell, because let's be serious, this has some significant kink potential. Yes, it does. And it's still not going to be too overpowered as far as combat concerns, because if, say, we see it's 50 minutes, yes, it'll last as long as that combat. So would the original spell. Are you likely to have a second round of combat, combat encounter in that 50-minute time span? And if you're doing like an infiltrate the bad guy's fortress, maybe you will. So what? So the guy can be something other than his normal human or elven self for the whole damn fortress invasion. How is that groundbreaking or horrible? You've committed yourself to a form. You're using that form. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think it's overpowered in the least. But I know that some people might think so. So I was thinking, how can we make this be a better, more useful spell without making it so though it bugs some people? So here's how I think you might want to do it. We use the invisibility model. So you can use it as a combat form for 1 minute per level. And if you do it right off the bat, that's the whole spell, 1 minute per level. But if you don't use it in combat, it lasts 10 minutes per level. And once you go into combat, that's when the 1 minute per level timer kicks in. There you go. You could have your kink, you can do your utility stuff, adventuring, clever things you've discovered that another form than humanoid will allow you to do, and it's not that much of an issue. Now, I also think that making this more usable by other people is also good. So this is where you come into a ring. You make polymorph rings. The ring only allows you access to one form, and it uses the same model as the invisibility spell, except this time it will only function for utility and or kink. So you can't use it in combat at all. A greater version, like a greater invisibility spell, would allow you to do that, but then you're rolling back into the original. Now that the 1 round per level of whoever made the ring kicks in, and then it goes off, and then you go back to your normal form. And I would probably say you cannot assume a new form until a same number of rounds or minutes have passed. So you've got a ring that was made by a 12th level caster. So for 12 minutes, you can do the combat thing, but then after that, for 12 minutes, you can't use it. In this way, polymorph becomes much more useful, much more versatile, potentially entertaining, and not rule-breaking. It isn't going to break the bank, in my opinion, by just applying that model that we already have from the invisibility spell. So you're just porting something over that already exists. So that's going to be really in the comfort wheelhouse, I think, of most GMs. I don't think many GMs would see that as a really horrible thing. And if it's the ring form, it's only going to be one. So maybe you have a ring that allows you to become elemental. Cool. But you're only getting that one elemental form. Not going to be useful all the time. Really useful, say, if you're a rock elemental, if you're an earth elemental, and you need to sink to the bottom of a lake real quick. Let's hope you get out of there in a relatively unscathed manner. Walking through the bottom of a mucky lake would probably take forever. But I like this idea, and I think that it would make the spell more useful, because I just think that 1 minute per level thing is just too limiting. And again, I'm porting over an idea that already exists, so I'm not coming up with a lot of original stuff. I'm just kind of cross-pollinating, if you will. So let's talk about the polymorph spell. Do you think it's underpowered? Do you think my suggestion makes it overpowered? Do you think that this spell is more useful as a pure combat option, or do you think it is more useful as a utility option or an entertainment option, if you will? I've always thought it was just too darn cool. The ability to change your shape is something that I would love to possess. So for me, I don't get into combat very often. I haven't thrown a punch at somebody since I was in 8th grade. Okay? So I want a spell that will let me take lots of different forms whenever I bloody well please. That would be so great. So that high-level druid powers of Thousand Faces and Wild Shape are just awesome. So let's talk about polymorph and how we like it and how we don't and how we think we should fix it.